But the problem is, here's one problem as we switch over, just right quick on a little tangent to Peyton Manning.
No, that's
we're
fine.
talking about Peyton Manning.
That's fine.
Regardless of the outcome of this year, John Elway and the Denver Broncos got a decision. I don't know how many years Peyton has left, or if this is his final year.
He just got one.
He just got 1 year left in his contract. And I think Brock Osweiler, is probably at the end of his contract as well.
I think he's going into a contract year, correct.
So
he'll be a free agent at the end of the season.
That's right. So they have a decision. I mean, they have kind of slightly the same decision that the Colts had a few years back. Do you go with the future or do you stick with Peyton Manning? Especially if they win one.
Right.
You know. And to me, I'm with you. Like, I want, and this is my personal preference, I want Peyton to retire as it is before he goes somewhere and it gets ugly. I don't think this year was a product of that.
By ugly, what do you mean?
Sometimes you just overstay and, you know, you can start seeing limitations in the game. And it gets to a point to where it's like hard to watch because you and I grew up watching Peyton Manning.
Oh, yeah, I watched him.
Yeah, so it's like
college,
you see him. Yeah, you see him and you know what he was like. And then see him even today, even though he played well, the stats don't indicate it, but to me he played well, good enough to win the game. But it wasn't Peyton Manning-esque fully.
Well, I get that, and to that I say, I'm not saying Peyton Manning is at the peak of his powers, and Peyton Manning is at the prime of his career and all of that.
Saying that Peyton Manning is good enough to win you a Super Bowl still.
That's what I'm saying, exactly.
Especially the Denver Broncos with that good defense.
Exactly, and in my opinion to that, I say I don't know Peyton personally, but you know how you've been watching somebody long, you can kind of you think you figured out their personality.
Yeah.
So going off of that knowledge, the way I see Peyton, I see him as, because he's already kind of hinted at that he plans to play next year. I see Peyton as a guy who wants to finish what he started. And what I mean by that, not necessarily a football career, but he signed a 5-year contract when he went into Denver. And so I think he wants to play that out and then retire regardless of the outcome of this season. And I don't have a problem with him doing that because to me he's accomplished, more than any player can accomplish. So why don't you just try to, stack Super Bowls up at the end of your career?
Okay, America.
And get out. And get
America, for the record, Josh, and this is a whole nother topic we're going to have to talk about just that one day.
Just what?
When we go blast in the past. But Josh Nevels, for the record, he thought that Indianapolis should have kept Peyton Manning. Now, and that was years ago. What was it now? 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. Now.
That's a sarcastic
now
laugh,
we're back.
America.
Yeah, now we're back. Like I said, this is a similar situation for Denver Broncos. What should John Elway do? Should they give Brock Osweiler that franchise contract? Should they franchise tag him and keep him if he's still under contract? You could franchise him, keep Peyton for 1 more year, and then give Osweiler a new contract. I mean, what do they do here? Because they say they're high on Brock Osweiler, and to be honest, Brock Osweiler fits Gary Kubiak a lot better because he's more like Joe Flacco.
He does.
Which works better for that kind of system, which is basically run the ball, stretch the field with the running stretch plays and off tackles, and then play action off of that and try to hit him with a couple of deep shots. Brock Osweiler is perfect
and
for
America,
that.
I wasn't trying to diss Brock Osweiler in any way. The Denver Broncos, make no mistake, they wouldn't be going to the Super Bowl if it wasn't for Brock Osweiler, because he came in and he done what a backup's supposed to do, which is pick up the slack when the starter gets injured or what have you, whatever happens. So he did his job. He was amazing in his time that he played. But I don't know if Dirk was asking me that question directly. Were you? About what I think the Broncos should do?
What do you think John Elway should do?
Well, once again, it just depends on what are the Broncos' goals for the future. Now, to me, from what based off of the moves John Elway has made, in the past few off seasons, they've been in the Super Bowl or bust mode. So I would think that going into next season, especially if you win one, I don't know why you wouldn't be trying to win another one the next year. Now, I could be wrong about the Denver Broncos, but they seem like a pretty competitive team and organization.
Do you risk losing your possible future quarterback, though?
Well, as far as that goes, I think if you're trying to win a Super Bowl, then you have to sell out to win the Super Bowl. So I would, and what I think they're going to do, if they're still in that mode, I don't see why you wouldn't keep Peyton and try to keep Brock too, because what's the worst that could happen with having both of them? Peyton,
ideally you would like to keep them both, but if they don't have that choice,
if Brock walks, I'd keep Peyton. I'd keep Peyton, and that's not just because I'm a Peyton Manning fan. Because you can't throw away. I was talking about intangibles earlier. Brock Osweiler, if you're talking about winning Super Bowls, to start Brock Osweiler to me would be to say the Denver Broncos are willing to take a step back from this season and kind of rebuild and kind of start over. It wouldn't be a complete remodeling process, but you would be going in a season with a guy who's made a handful of starts, and he did good.
Yeah, and
now you asking him to do not necessarily what Peyton Manning did, because they kind of helped each other out this year, but you'd be asking him to do it all now, and I'm not sure if he's ready to do that just yet. I don't think he's showed enough of that just yet.
But to counter that, though, if Peyton Manning struggles to run Gary Kubiak's offense, isn't it about the philosophy of the offense and who can run it better?
Well, let's take a step back. I don't think Peyton Manning is struggling to run it anymore. I think some of it was ego. And then
whose part?
Some of it, it depends on whose side you take. I guess I'm a man of structure. So in my opinion, a player ought to listen to his coach. And I'm not in any way kind of saying Peyton Manning is the kind of person who would willfully be disobedient to any type of authority, especially his coach. He seems like he's a team player. But at the same time, it is Peyton Manning. And Peyton Manning has been successful doing what he's done for a very long time. Mm-hmm. So I think part of it was they was trying to find a mesh point with the two philosophies, and they couldn't. And then Peyton Manning really got hurt. He ended up tearing the plantar fascia. Or before it was just kind of, I guess, swollen. I don't know. I'm not a foot doctor. But then he tore it at Indianapolis towards the end of that game. And then Gary Kubiak, they wanted to sit him then, but Peyton Manning had those two records they wanted him to break. And Peyton Manning didn't a lot of people don't know, before he had that horrendous game against Kansas City, he didn't practice until Saturday. He had sat out. Before, this is another problem that may have threw Peyton Manning off early in the year. Peyton Manning is a creature of habit like no other. He's used to practicing, getting all the reps. Well, when the season started, one of the things Peyton Manning had to settle on, I guess compromises, if you will, was that he would have to take less practice reps throughout the week, which ultimately helped Brock Osweiler, now that I think about it. But he wasn't getting his full reps like he was in the beginning of the career. He really wasn't practicing until Thursday, towards the end of the week. So
because he old.
Well, but I think that threw off his rhythm somewhat in learning new offense as well.
Yeah, I can see that.
So with I'm going back to the 9 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. Some of that was him just trying to do too much. Some of it I don't think he just was comfortable in offense. Now he's starting to look like he's comfortable in the offense, because he hadn't turned it over yet since he came back and, took over against San Diego late in the second half, and, they ended up winning that game. So he looks more comfortable and settled into the offense. So when I think about it like that, if I got Peyton who can run Gary Kubiak's offense, then I'm taking that Peyton. And
yeah, I'm definitely.
You know what I'm saying, and not necessarily Brock Osweiler. I would hate to lose Brock Osweiler, so I'd try to keep him. But I just don't know if we're in Super Bowl mode and we want, whether they win or lose this one. If we're in Super Bowl mode, we're going to keep Peyton for one more year because that's what he has on his contract. Now, if let's say they do, and then Peyton, play that year out, then Peyton done to me. If I'm John Elway, he played it out unless he just has some astronomical 60 touchdown season, which nobody sees. That I don't even see that happening. Then Peyton Manning is pretty much probably going to retire at that point. But if he can come back, and he can run Gary Kubiak's offense like he's been running it, kind of spotty, picking his spots where he needs to make plays with his arm, and they can get that running game going, I don't see why you wouldn't bring Peyton Manning come back. Bring him back. That's just me, though.